Bring you the latest stories and updates from across the nation and beyond. I'm Batsirin Namshar. On the News Mongolia tonight, contracts are being drawn up to accommodate the families affected by the fire in rental housing. Mongolia expands its coal export capacity with new automated terminals. Ulaanbaatar's license plate restrictions to end on February 1st. For the news, stay tuned. Due to a gas explosion in Beinzurk district, 62 families' apartments caught fire. The families who lost their apartments in the fire are working to secure rental apartments by the 31st of this month. Currently, more than 10 families have chosen apartments for rent and are signing agreements with the governor's office of the capital city.
Today, 162 people from 45 families whose apartments were affected by the fire are temporarily staying in a hotel. Among them, there are 86 children, with 15 of them in kindergarten, 49 of them school age, and 22 infants. Parents mentioned that the new school term started, but most of the children did not attend school. It has been decided to provide rental support to these families until next September, and the expenses will be covered from the reserve funds of the governor's office of the capital city. Currently, people are actively searching for rental apartments, and some have already signed contracts to move in from the beginning.
All the families affected by the fire will move into rented accommodation. Currently, based on our registration, more than 10 families have already secured rental places and are in the process of signing lease agreements. I'm searching for a two-room apartment to rent, as I have lost my previous two-room apartment.
A copy of the real estate certificate, a copy of the identity card, and families with mortgage loans should also bring their mortgage documents.
In addition to citizens being left without living conditions, damage assessment work related to the burning of household furniture, cars will be conducted. The legal department of the capital city is overseeing this contract, and the budget is sourced from the treasury of the governor's office of the capital city.
There were 3 tenant families in the apartment affected by the fire. It's explained that, according to the law, the owner of the apartment will receive compensation for damages. Only the owners of the apartment received the lease agreement and payment. The residents who rented the apartment are left uncertain about their accommodation, and there is no clear guidance on what to do.
They informed me that as a renter of the apartment affected by the fire, I'm not eligible for any compensation. It's the responsibility of the apartment owner to handle the compensation. People who were renting flats were evicted, left with only the clothes they were wearing.
At a time when the issue of compensation is under discussion, the matter of rent money is also being considered. From a legal perspective, a contract must be established with the owner of the apartment. The owner should negotiate with the tenant and formalize their agreement by signing a contract.
In the hotels where the citizens are staying, some government organizations are offering documentation, specialized psychological, legal, and welfare advice to the families.
Some people's documents were destroyed in the fire. Today, we have conducted a survey and are providing replacements for the documents free of charge. Lease agreements are also being prepared with a copy of the real estate certificate and a copy of the identity card required for the contract provided on the spot along with necessary services.
13 psychologists and 3 psychiatrists from the district and the capital city are offering psychological counseling and services. Additionally, a children's room has been established where primary school teachers and kindergarten teachers from the education department work in shifts, providing child care services. The Ministry of Labor and Social Protection of Mongolia has suggested that the children from families affected by the fire should stay in a resort for 14 days. It has also been decided to provide essential household items to every family. Additionally, a working group has been established to assess the damage to citizens' property.
The government of Mongolia approved the establishment of an automated container terminal at the Qashonsuhwaitboro port in Umnga province. The terminal has been operational since November 2023, built with an investment of $92 million. It has the capacity to export 10 million tons of coal annually, making it a crucial part of Mongolia's push for enhanced multimodal transportation and a significant leap forward in cross-border transport capabilities.
Over 160 Mongolian enterprises collaborated on the project, working alongside 1,200 engineers and technicians from Mongolian Armed Forces civil engineering units, utilizing 360 pieces of equipment for the construction process. The Shivehuring border checkpoint is also equipped with an automated container terminal built by Shivehuring Terminal LLC, 8 coal mining enterprises utilizing the Naring Sahat deposit. This terminal is expected to quadruple the checkpoint's capacity when complete, facilitating the annual export of 40 million tons of coal. The Mongolian government's new rival policy includes bolstering transportation infrastructure. These initiatives include the construction of the new Aso Naring Sohat Shivehuring railway network and the opening of the cargo terminal to enhance Shivehuring checkpoint capacity.
Now let's take a look at Mongolia's other current affairs.
Temporary driving restrictions have been implemented to address traffic congestion in Ulaanbaatar, but the even and odd license plate number system will no longer be in effect on February 1st. Starting on February 1st, new restrictions dictate that vehicles with license plate numbers ending with 1 or 6 are prohibited from driving on Mondays, those ending with 2 or 7 on Tuesdays, 3 or 8 on Wednesdays, 4 and 9 on Thursdays, and cars with license plates ending in 5 or 0 are restricted from driving on Fridays. This measure is aimed at improving traffic flow and reducing congestion during peak hours.
Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. You're watching News Mongolia. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. UK Foreign Secretary said on Monday sanctions were issued against 7 Iran-linked individuals and 1 organization accused of carrying out threats to kill people in the UK. Speaking in London, David Cameron said that asset freezes and travel bans were enforced on the group.
Well, today we've issued sanctions against 7 individuals and 1 organisation connected with Iran because, frankly, they were carrying out threats to kill people here in this country. Completely unacceptable, and that's why we've acted. These sanctions are asset freezes and travel bans, and this is now comes on top of 400 individuals connected with Iran that we've issued sanctions on in the past. It's completely unacceptable behaviour, and we will always respond rapidly and correctly.
According to a statement by the United Kingdom government, the Iranian officials were members of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Unit 840, which was exposed in an ITV channel's investigation into plots to assassinate two television presenters from news channel Iran International on United Kingdom soil. The statement added that there were at least 15 threats by Iran to intimidate or kill British nationals or UK-linked individuals since January 2022. The sanctions were issued in coordination with the United States and took place amid heightened tensions in the Middle East and the latest Israel-Hamas war.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken hosted NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg in Washington, D.C. Monday, and the two men projected a united front on unwavering support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia.
Partisan gridlock in Congress has frozen U.S. military aid for Ukraine, and both Blinken and Stoltenberg urged Washington to break the logjam and give Ukraine what it needs to take back territory from Moscow. Blinken touted the contributions of NATO allies toward Ukraine's security, while Stoltenberg said China is watching how the U.S. and NATO will respond to Russia's invasion.
It is as always. We discussed with the Secretary General NATO's unwavering support for Ukraine. Last week, NATO signed a $1.2 billion contract to produce 220,000 artillery shells. That's going to help allies restock their own arsenals, and it complements efforts by the United States, by the European Union, by Ukraine, to ramp up defense production.
For a tiny fraction of annual defense spending, the United States has helped Ukraine destroy a major part of Russia's combat capacity, without placing a single American soldier in harm's way. I welcome the clear commitment from President Biden and you to sustain U.S. support to Ukraine and to work with Congress to achieve that. As you said, other allies are also stepping up.
The support that the United States has provided to Ukraine has been exceptional, about $75 billion over the last couple of years, but our partners and allies, notably our core NATO allies, have provided more than $110 billion over that same period of time. And whether it's military support, whether it's economic support, whether it's humanitarian support, the burden sharing that we've seen in the case of Ukraine has been more than exemplary. But in order to make sure that that continues, that all of us step up and do what's necessary to continue to ensure that Ukraine knows success and Russia knows strategic failure, it is vital that Congress pass the supplemental budget request the President's put before it.
It is the biggest stick.
But our support is not charity, it is an investment in our own security, because we know that this is closely watched also in Beijing. And we also see how China and Russia are aligning more and more, how China is propping up the Russian economy, including the defense production. We see how China is repeating and spreading the same narrative about the war as Russia, how China has failed to condemn the illegal invasion of Ukraine. And then we have to remember that just days before the full-scale invasion, China and Russia, President Xi and President Putin, signed a joint partnership agreement where they promised each other limitless partnership.
Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni on Monday unveiled Italy's big development plan for Africa at a summit of the continent's leaders, aiming to stem the numbers of migrants, diversify sources of energy, and forge a new non-predatory relationship between Europe and Africa.
Meloni declared the summit a successful first step, and top European and United Nations officials said the Italian plan, with an initial endowment of €5.5 billion, €5.95 billion, would complement the initiative already underway, focusing on climate adaptation and clean energy development in Africa. But the African Union Commission was more cautious, telling the summit that African countries would have liked to have been consulted beforehand and didn't want more empty pledges.
This morning, we wanted to talk about this idea of the Matei Plan starting from specific projects. The theme of sharing can probably arise from there, in the sense that it may have seemed like an agreed thing, but it clearly isn't. The summit is a fundamental for sharing not only the strategy, but also, in short, the final definition of the project was a step in this work that we are doing. But I may have made the mistake of being, let's say, too concrete and given the impression that it was in some way defined.
24 African leaders, top EU and UN officials, and representatives from international leading institutions were in Rome for the summit, the first major event of Italy's group of 7 presidencies. Italy, which for decades has been ground zero in Europe's migration debate, had been promoting its development plan as a way to create jobs and opportunities in Africa and discourage its young people from making dangerous migrations across the Mediterranean Sea. The plan involves pilot projects in areas such as education, healthcare, water, sanitation, agriculture, and energy infrastructure. Meloni, Italy's first hard right leader since the end of World War II, has made curbing migration a priority of her government. But her first year in power saw a big jump in the numbers of people who arrived on Italy's shores, with about 160,000 last year. As the summit got underway, the International Organization for Migration reported that nearly 100 people had died or gone missing in the Mediterranean so far this year, twice as many as the same period of last year, which was the deadliest since 2016.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for Mongolia and the world's major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you on Wednesday with more news and updates. Goodbye.
За намайг Жаргалбаатар гэдэг. Манай охин одоо 3 настай. Эхнэр өвд хоёр нь анх төрсөн цагаас нь л энэ ягаан дэвтэргээр нь хөтлөөд явдаг. Ямар ач холбогдолтой вэ гэдэг. Тэгэхээр хүүхдийн өсөлт хөгжилт болон оюуны хөгжлүүдийн асуултууд маань байж байдаг. Хүүхэд шатны бариулаас барилгүй эсвэл бөмбөг тоглохдоо тэнцвэрээ алж ийн. Миний охин бөмбөг тоглохдоо тэнцвэрээ алддаг үлээ. Үгүй үсттэй тий. Харандаага дугуй дүрсийг зурдгоо гэж байна. За миний охины дугуй дүрс зурчих. Оо мундаг за.
За энэ ягаан дэвтэр гэдэг байгаа энэ хүүхдийн эрүүл мэндийн дэвтэр гэж нэрлэдэг. Тэгэхээр энийг ашиглах нь бол гэр бүлийн гишүүд эцэг их хүүхдээ хэдий ч хянах тийм боломжтой. Ингэж эцэг их өөрөө хянснараа бол одоо тэр хүүхдэд эмнэлгийн тусламж оройтохгүй байх боломж бүрдэнэ. 2010 онд анх гаргаснаас хойш 13 онд нэг шинжилсэн. За 18 онд бол нэг шинжилсэн байна. Энээс өмнө бол яг хуу ийм гэр бүлд суурилсан ийм дэвтэр бол байгаагүй хүүхдийн эрүүл мэндийн талаар. Энэ бол маш том санах хой болж байгаа юм л да. Энэгээр их ач холбогдолтой. Тэгээ хүүхдийнхээ өсөлт ажилтгийг бол хяна энэ хүүхд бол насандаа одоо тохирсон хөгжил нь хоцрогдолтой байна уу гэдгийг бол харах тийм бүрэн боломжтой байдаг.
Хүүхэд өөрийн нэрийг хэлдэг үг нэ. Миний охин